Alright, so today was my first little play around on Twitch, and I think there was about 20 people that hopped on to at least say hi, and it was very short notice. But what I did was I was working on an unfold, which is already foam unfolded. It was just kind of showing tips and tricks for this helmet, which is the Deathstroke off of hopefully Justice League, Batman. I don't know where it's coming from. I just know that they showed that minor clip, and Necroster, which I don't know how to pronounce his name properly, but he modeled it and then shared it. He did share it on VK.com, which is the Russian Facebook site. Mig downloaded it, foamified it, and then of course I was asking for stuff to kind of unfold for this little deal, and he flipped his pen and take a look. So I'm gonna show you what I look at, what to start out with, some stuff that kind of like hidden stuff that usually people don't hit up, and that way I can upload this to YouTube, Twitch, and that way you can see why it's foamified and what the difference is between a JFcustom type style file and the rest of them that basically just, click the 2D menu and take the flaps off and say, there's your foam file. So hopefully learn something and you get something going. But I'm going to start with basically, like I said, it was Necroster that modeled it. He does have an Etsy shop. It is on the file. I'm going to share this in Pepakura Depository, which is a group that I made to share my files. When I had them on Tumblr, they were going everywhere. There was a lot of guys that are on YouTube that definitely used my files and unfolds and were bragging how they did everything, and I'm going, I want some type of control because it does take time, and you'll see. So first thing I always start with is for people that don't know JFcustom style, and the reason I'm saying that is because he started this 4 years ago, and it's actually almost genius as far as how they look at stuff. But when you see stuff like this, that's actually meant for possibly the foam to sit on top of or underneath, or it's meant for a hill and valley cut. And that's the biggest difference. Some people see this and they say those are flaps. Well, the flaps are off. If you put flaps on, there's your flaps. Some people think they're tabs, so they go ahead and delete all of them. I'm going to tell you why they're there, which I've discussed in videos before, but at least I'm going to show you how to get rid of them if you don't need them. So let's tackle the main stuff. When you see something this clean, some people also think that they reduce the threshold. If you ever try to unfold, you see this threshold. What this does is it changes, I guess, I don't want to say density, but it changes how much of the curvatures are going to show up for lines to actually cut for the PEP file. So it makes it smoother. So if I type in 0, you're going to see some lines disappear off the actual helmet. Now, and that's what some people are thinking has happened, but it's not. JFcustom, if you look at this file, usually it's 160, 165, depending on the threshold. This one, since I already unfolded it today, I'm going to have it actually go all the way up, and you'll see what it does to the file. Oop, 180, which I don't even know how much it is. So all of a sudden, you see all the lines. And all the lines appear because Miguel actually, he deleted a lot of them, which you can see which were erased. Now, to add some of this stuff back in, the way he got rid of them was the edge color. If you right click on the 2D menu and hit edge color, it gives you all these nice little options. Hidden valley is what we want. I'm going to see if that goes all the way up. And then paint, I'm going to change the color to black. And what I'm going to do is highlight everything that's already sitting here to make sure we get every line that he possibly deleted off there. And that's for my reference, so when I'm sitting there unfolding, I know what lines I can actually select when I do it. So that's the first couple of things to look for whenever you look for files. If you have the threshold too low, that's not really foamifying. I'll show you what he did to get rid of that stuff, but this is a JFcustom style format. So let's start with the simple stuff. You already know how to right click. Pepakura Designer, you take a 3D file, and if there's not too many meshes or it's high quality, it'll be able to actually upload it in this program. It takes that 3D model and it lays it to a 2D image. So if you take a ball, it's going to have a bunch of cuts and lines and everything else, and you'll have to make the valleys cuts because what it's doing is making it 2D. You shape it, it goes to 3D. So when you glue those lines together, it starts creating the shape. So to start with this, I'm going to start with disjoin face. That's the one that you're going to use to actually make some of these modifications. So I'm going to start from the top of the head. Biggest thing you want to do is know what the heck it's modeled after. That 3D file, the reason I use Pep is because I know I can make that helmet because it's on there and it has the blueprints. Pepakura is a cheat sheet, so I don't have to guess. I don't have to make a template and say, well, that may be the right size, it may be not. It'll be straight up the right size by if I click and do measure distance between 2 points, you can actually select, and what I usually do is I do the ears and go bink, and it'll tell me it's 190, 0.14 millimeter, which that's too big for me. What I usually put mine between is 163 and depending on what kind of helmet it is, maybe 167. That's for it to fit like a glove. And you just measure your head. That's all you do. Measure your distance, you're good to go. But you can adjust the scale by sitting there, which I bounced around by doing that. But this is basically, I want to make sure you know your unfolds. So I'll go ahead and let's change the scale just in case. So 274, and we'll just guess. We'll drop it down to 255. Check the sides to sides. 17 points is still a little too big. Change scale. 245. 168. So that will actually fit like a helmet now as far as the faceplate. I know it'll fit, my eyes will match up, it'll be fine. So let's go back to the top of the head. Once again, looking at the model, make sure you have your reference point, and then know what you're working with. Yeah, because that's what you're going off of. So he has some V cuts on there, and I'm not going to dock him for anything because unfolding takes time, and he's doing everything he can. He shares with the community. Meg's awesome. So this is just how I do it, and that's how I expect you guys. When you get a file, even on JFcustoms, I would modify certain things for how I build. Modify these templates for how you build. So if you use 1/2" foam, you sure the heck know that some of these lines are going to be tough as heck to cut. If you use 6mm foam, you know that depending on type of the overlaps, you know you're going to have to overlap it a certain way, which I'll show you on here. And if you use 2mm foam, you sure the heck know what you need to be doing as far as cuts and angles and everything else. So that's the first thing, is think about what type of foam you're using. Think about what you need to modify for your templates. So basically, once again, let's get to this top. If you look at it, there is an indentation, this blue line. It's a valley cut, which means on the bottom of the foam, I'm going to make a straight cut, open it up, and put glue in it. And that's what I want it to show on the template. So when I do it, I'm going to cut each individual line off, which I probably didn't have to cut the top one, and reattach it. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a line dot, which signifies a valley cut. And the reason you guys will know it's a valley cut whenever you do somebody's templates is because you have to look at the 3D model to see what it signifies. And what I mean by that is this, you see how there's a blue line, you know it's a valley cut. Now see these down here, there's the same blue line, but when you look at it, that is going to be an overlap. That's an extension, so you can set this piece and have something to glue it to on top of that. But since I'm using 6mm foam, that's definitely going to be changed. Let's go back to your top. I'm going to fix this. And this is probably going to be really boring watching me cut stuff, and that's all I'm doing. Lines, cuts, it's kind of common depending on how you want to look at it. But so let's look at these parts up here. This is not needed. I'm going to be using 6mm, and that's for the helmet, it looks like, to butt up. So I guess if you wanted to use magnets or touch each other like that. I'm more interested just in the front side right now, and depending on how you join it, I'd rather layer it and then have something sit on top versus have that. So I'm going to get rid of these. And I'm sure there's a spot that he has over in the corner, actually I know there is, that is a bunch of extra pieces, but just if you take them off the page, those aren't going to be printed out. So that piece is pretty much almost done. All you got to do now, the way it was clean, if you do edge color and you select the eraser, it will let you select this stuff and then get rid of it. That's what gives it its clean. That's what makes people think that they're adjusting the threshold, and they're not. What they're doing is just erasing the lines. It's a dummy-proof technique to make sure that even myself, I'll go through that extreme. But JFcustom was doing this, and anytime you've built his Iron Man files or any of his helmets, that's what makes them so, good for basically any builder. It's self-explanatory once you actually look at it. So that piece is done. As far as I think he was good on that, and I'm going to do is a valley cut right there, glue it open, and it'll give me that little curve when I glue it. This piece is the front, and what we could do is see how it connects, which it leaves that opening, so that's why he left it separate. It does have the same lip on those, so if you want it to continue from that, it looks like the only thing he did fine on that, all we got to do is go back and erase the lines. Which we want that one. Bump. So there's that one, so it'll line up with it when you do it. The eyebrows are the center. That one, if you usually, it looks like it's joined at the top. If you join stuff in the middle, it'll separate that gap a lot. It'll give you a closer connection. Same thing with these, so it comes closer, but it looks like it's pretty solid overall. Same thing with these. If we connect it right there, it'll get rid of that gap at the top. See, so now it's thinner than it was. Edge color, and then we don't need any of that. Because on the reference material, let's look, there's no indentation in the middle, so I would leave something on there if there was. That is his eye, so there's no hill or valley cuts, so get rid of the middles. Okay, this one, now whenever you look at some of these, when you click on them, if you see almost a flat edge that two pieces are coming close together, usually you can join those. So what you have to do is actually try. The other thing is you see the blue line going up to his head. That's noticed right here. There's a good 3-inch line that's going up, so we have to capture that with undercuts if we want to make it legit. So in order to do this one, you have to make sure that you disassemble and assemble it back together. So just like that, see, now all of a sudden it's coming together. And there's no gaps. And it's just because that, see, everything's fitting like it's supposed to. And see, there's not a lot of overlaps. You're talking under 1 millimeter if you're lucky. Think. Check that one. That's all you gotta do. Play around with it and see where it joins out better. So that one looks done. So edge color. Now like I said, you want to make sure it lines up with the actual file. So if it starts right there above his head, that's where you want the line to start. So we gotta make sure there is a join spot right there. And that way when I'm erasing it, we know where to do the valley cut. Which all those, we could actually join those too. It looks like there was some separation. Yep, right there. So separate, 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 and if you join them, you'll see that there's no line and there's hardly any gaps. Just like that. Oops. Whoopsie. I should show you that too. So if you mess up and you just got rid of that line, go back to your paintbrush. Paint it back. That way you got it. Alright, so I missed that spot too. Paintbrush. And where's it connecting? Connect. The heck? Oh wow, I totally goofed on that one. That's what it was. See, that's what happens when you get sidetracked. Oh, did you know, for those that don't know, I did do a Predator family. Not like legit Predators, but like Alien versus Predator. So I do have 3 kids. I have 2 dogs. So if all hell breaks loose between now and then, that's what's going on. So there's that. That line right there is going to be his crease. So that way when you do the build, you make a cut, open it up, glue it, and it's going to create that crease for the helmet. Okay, this piece, and I've already, like I said, I've done this before, so anyway, what I did was, there's this section right here up on top that I would rather cut out completely, because what it'll be is it'll be a hill cut and then a valley cut, so it can be all one piece. But it's just, that seems like a lot of hills and valleys that you can mess up on, so I'm separating that out. And then that way, when you glue it, you'll have alignment for it anyways, and hopefully it'll be easier to do. So you always have to think what's easier for you and how you want to build. And the other thing is, like I said, I want to make sure that when I do this, I have those cuts. So that's why I'm joining and disjoining on those spots. And then get rid of all the stuff I don't need, which I needed all that, unfortunately. So if you like clicking noises of mouses, that's what this is. And I do want to give a shout out to Casey Renee, because I started watching her on Twitch, and I met her at C2E2 last year, and she's awesome. I mean, she's fun. She gets to sit at home and do what she loves, which is sewing and creating costumes for other people, and so she's streaming what she does, which is cool as heck. So I started watching her going, I can do that. And then I ended up watching Beer Money Props on his first day of streaming. And it was the first time I got to hear his voice, and I'm going, holy crap, that's cool. So it was kind of a new experience for me, being able to make sure that I heard, you know, you do feel like you're there. You get to talk to him, chat with him, do what you want. So make sure you guys hit me up, because I've always wanted to help out, and everybody from, was it Corgi, Beer Money Props, SKS Props, everybody that usually I follow with, they share their techniques. Evil Ted does great as far as the custom pattern templates and everything he does, and he just started dipping in Pepakura. So, and then Bill Duran, all his books, everything he does for the community, just it's awesome the amount of people that do this stuff, and especially foam, but it's all different stuff. So me, I like this stuff because I can see what the output is before I even build it. Like I said, it's a cheat sheet. So this piece, I think I kept, join that. And this, the thing about your seams is, whenever you connect stuff, you want to make sure that your seams are going towards the back. So what you don't want to do is have a seam join at the back and then be visible at the front, because when you build the helmet, that's what you'll see. So most of his files, you'll see that the forehead is joined in the front, and then the seams start going on the back, so that way it's hidden on there. And that's what I try to keep throughout the builds. So this, I know, can fit somewhere else, so I'm taking that part off. And the rest of this, you gotta look at the file, or the reference photo. He has undercuts right here and around, and so you'll know that you'll have to make sure that you capture those in the eyes. So on there, I have to keep all those. So in order to keep it around his eyes, right there, right there, and if you join this, it'll actually create, you know, almost the shape that you're looking for without taking away from it. And you're not losing a lot when you do that. And then delete all these because it's not needed. Let's see, where's this coming up at? So all those, if you look at it, there's a slight angle. So that's why you want to keep all the undercut lines, which is a dot, dot, dot. And valley lines, which go up on the top. Those are your hill line, or yeah, valley and hills. Those are dot, dash, dot. Click, 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 click. This is why you need to make sure that you give a shout out to all your unfolders. I know you're going, oh wow, they unfolded it, so it's not much, so I'll just talk to them all there. This stuff takes time, and the fact that people share this stuff for free and you invest this much time, I think once I got over maybe 40 hours of just unfolding just files for people, I'm going, that was free labor, that was free fun. so that's why I made the Pepakura depositories, because I wanted to make sure that people weren't enjoying them, people weren't just taking them and running off with them and, hey look, this is what I did. It's a lot of time, and especially when you go into this type of detail, to make sure that it's kind of simplified to the point that you can pick up on it quick. There's that. Alright, this piece I know can connect right there. And if you separate them all out, now the key is when you look at this, you see how it's straight. That's why you know that that was going to be able to go with that. And if you didn't know, you just try. I mean, you have to just basically plug the piece on there and see if it makes a different shape with the file, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I got rid of the gap, and you just saved yourself extra paper, extra cutout. I mean, it makes it more simplistic. So now this one piece that was sitting there is a larger, more simplistic piece. And I'm joining all those up because I want it to be equal on both sides, which you have to do. So if you unfold one side a certain way, do it the same side. Do it the same way on the other side, because you don't want one of these lines to be messed up. Because if you're off on one, it will throw it off just that little piece, and you'll be going, well, why is my helmet sideways? Alright, now this was one of the areas that I was looking at. So that line is going to signify laying foam on top of each other. If this was 2mm, I would say that would be correct, because looking at the file, you see the lip, that would be about 2mm foam. But I'm not using that, I'm using 6mm, so I'm going to have 4mm sitting underneath it. So if I have that underneath there, I just offset it. So when I build, I'm going to pull all those pieces off and offset it. Thing I was looking at with the file, though, is when you look at it from the side, you can see the lip, which means you probably need the space. So I'm getting rid of it off of this piece, which is signifying that it's an overlap. I definitely don't need this back one, because the back one is the back side of the helmet, so the foam's going to create that. And then I'm going to join it to where it's needed, which is on this piece. And the only reason I'm separating them out is, like I said, it keeps it solid. You don't lose the spacing. You know how much gap there is. You can actually see what's going on with the model. This, since it's almost flat, depending on where you put this, you should be able to get rid of the gap. So join it in the middle, and see, all of a sudden those two pieces in a V-cut become that. And this is just modifying it for how I build. so you can imagine if we start from the very beginning and go from there. What was else? Join this. Okay, so this back isn't needed as well, because these pieces are this backside, which would be extending way too far out if we join them together. So since none of this stuff needs a valley cut, get rid of it all. And the reason I'm saying that is because of the file, you can't really see that portion, so I'm going to imagine it's blank. And these, like I said, hopefully it lines up correctly. If you test the paper templates before you do the foam, then you'll know if you need to do any trimming or not. But I think they'll be fine. Foam is forgiving. Now this one, Miguel left these sides, so it comes in, and of course that's how the model looks. So you see that there's a V-cut right there, and then you see there's another little lip right there, but I can't tell. So we're going to leave it like he had it, because I'm going to agree with that. So if I join it, I do like joining stuff in the middle, just for the fact that it gives it more of a look. But I'm also going to make sure that I line it up like that. Now it's the same thing with, this is where it's going to curve in at. So I want to make sure these are joined as well, so it gives a and like I said, whenever you do this stuff, you got to make both sides look the same. So if that has a cut coming down the side, that's what we need to do with it. So that's separated, and it's joined right there. It's joined. So this cut goes right here, and right there. So this one can be joined. Looks like I'm not going to get rid of that one. I think it'll be fine too. So, but the other thing was, since we removed the wedges off of that side, we got to remove these sides. Rotate. And the way to check this is, since it's in the middle, when you print out your paper template, fold it in half and make sure everything lines up so you know you're not off. Edge color, eraser, and get rid of all the stuff we do not want to use. Oops. Get too excited. Zoom in. And I told myself I was going to put music, but I have kids that I put to bed, so I didn't want to party too much. If you have tips and tricks you want to share, stuff you want to post, make sure you post it on my YouTube, post it on Facebook, post it anywhere you want. I'll look it up. I definitely try to hit everybody and help them out with what they're doing. where's that? So if I move what we've done so far, so I don't know why it's doing that on me. That. So if you drop those on the page, you'll be fine. What I always do is I always highlight everything to see what I unfolded. Ba-ba! So there's the front of his mask. But that should hit everything as far as what you're looking for. If you start out on files that you've already want to kind of tweak, unfold it the way you build. Learn what the unfolders do. If you have a question about a file, excuse me, don't just assume. So especially on JFcustom, when they're like, oh, these are flaps, you can cut them off. Look at the model first and see where that piece actually goes and try to understand what that person was thinking, or even contact the modeler and go, hey, is this what this is supposed to mean? And you can find out what was going on. So with this, since I didn't do the valley cuts correctly on those, what I should have done was disjoin, join, and then that way it's dot dash dot dash dot dash, so when you guys do it, you know that's what that is. So there's no question behind what some of those things are. But I hope you learned something. From here on out, like I said, hopefully when I post on Twitch, it's going to feed directly in. It will be on YouTube. It's just really simplistic stuff. It just takes time to explain it and time to know it. So sorry for the boredom. I hope you learned something. And definitely keep building, because this stuff's, it's easy and it's fun. So talk to you.